Mom, we got to check on the man laying on the couch. And we're like, what? Man laying on the couch? And it's just, so sure enough, there was a guy, but luckily we saw his toes moving, and
so he's alive. He's not just sitting there. My name is Kevin McIntosh, and this is The Closing Table, where we talk to experts about their experience in real estate all across the country. Let's go. Welcome back to The Closing Table. I am your host, Kevin C. McIntosh, and joining us on this episode, per usual, we have top producing real estate agent, Corrie Fogle, joining us. How you doing, Corrie?
I'm good. Nice to be here. Thanks for having me,
Absolutely, Absolutely. Thank you for coming in person, too. It's always a joy when we have our guests coming in person in the studio. So we're looking forward to having a great episode today. Pick your brain about real estate, specifically in your market. But first, like to start things off a little bit social, loose, with an icebreaker for you, actually. It's called word association, Corrie. I have a few words, all related to real estate. I just want you to give me your first reaction, whether that's a corresponding word, a story, definition, whatever the case may be. You ready?
I'm ready.
All right. First one, zoning.
Schools.
I love it. Whatever comes to mind. I love it. I love it. Second, appraisal.
Hopefully good.
Okay. That's legit.
Yeah.
Escrow.
Insurance.
Pre-qualification.
Quick.
Last one, inspection.
Pass.
Okay. I love it. See, right? Quick thinking, just whatever comes to your mind.
You gave me some softballs.
Yeah, there we go. Love it. So thank you, starting things off a little bit social with us. Now, I like to kind of go in and talk to the person, separate you from your profession. So if you can, just tell us who's Corrie outside of real estate. Give us a little bit of your background.
Sure. I've been married for about 25 years, and we have 4 children, 22, 20, 15, and 12. Okay. And I enjoy being outside. I love running, biking. We go up north quite a bit, and just anything outdoors.
Nice.
I just enjoy that. And then as well as just, I have a hard time like just sitting for any length of time. I just always feel like I'm very, I think it's a little ADD, but it's actually played very well for this business. So it's been great.
Got you. Okay, good. I love to get more insight into people. I mean, most of us, we go home to a family and we're moms, we're dads and things like that. So it's good to just put that out there. Like we're more than just, taking care of business and whatnot.
Absolutely.
So,
and I forgot, I love tennis. Oh,
really?
Gosh.
Okay.
Tennis and pickleball.
Okay. Nice.
I did not think, I told my husband, I said, I am not doing pickleball. I have to be at least 65 to do pickleball. But it's a fun sport.
You just never know until you play it, right? Yeah,
exactly.
Good. So talk to me, Corrie. Let's talk about the market that you serve specifically in 2 different ways, 2 different perspectives. One, geographically. Let's paint a picture for our audience who may have never been there, where you serve geographically, the things that's around, and then let's get into some of the economics in regards to what's happening with the real estate there.
Sure. So Metro Detroit is really what I serve. I grew up in north in Romeo, which is a small town full of apple orchards, but it's really grown. It's just a totally different city than when I grew up in. And but I also lived in Royal Oak for 18 years with my husband. We raised our family, and then we moved to Bloomfield. So I know those areas just from living in those areas very well. But really that whole area, I've discovered Plymouth and the northwest side, which I love. That is a beautiful area. So there's just a lot of great markets. I mean, I feel like each city has its own kind of a unique feel.
Correct.
And it's interesting how, and I really think Metro Detroit granted, haven't lived anywhere else.
Yeah.
So I lived on the west side of the state, which is pretty awesome. But it really does have, each city has its own unique qualities. And so usually I would say like my, like as far as the price range and so forth, is probably anywhere from like, I don't know, right now the home values have gone up so much, probably anywhere from like 300 to probably about 900, 800 is probably more that sweet spot. So
okay. Good. Okay, that lets us know what's going on. And you said you spent some time in West Michigan too. What area specifically, if you don't mind me asking?
Oh yeah, I lived in Grand Rapids.
Okay.
I went to school in Kalamazoo.
Okay, now I was born in Kalamazoo. I have family in South Haven in Kalamazoo, and so that's why I was like, okay,
my brother. We also spent a lot of time in Holland.
Nice. I got my braces done up there. Yeah.
Yeah. My aunt has a place on Lake Michigan, but she bought it in the 50s.
Mm-hmm.
So
I know value. I know. Oh my goodness.
She bought it for $45,000. So that gives you an idea.
Yeah.
Of Lake Michigan.
Nice.
So,
nice. That's a beautiful market over there too. I don't think it's talked
gorgeous.
About enough.
Yeah, my brother lives in Holland. I love. Yeah, West Side is good.
Yeah,
it's good.
Especially in the
Michigan
summer.
is good.
Yes.
People
Talk
dogging
about
on Michigan.
Yeah, we can be
good.
biased. That's fine. That's fine. So coming from a background in communications and community relations, you must have encountered various challenges in fostering strong relationships and connections with people, I would just imagine. So can you share a story where your expertise in communication and community building played a crucial role in successfully helping a client achieve their real estate goals?
Yes, I have. So oftentimes people think of, when you're buying a home, it's always like a really exciting, positive experience. But oftentimes, if you're going through a divorce or you have, trying to sell a family home with parents, siblings, it can get kind of a little bit dicey because you have siblings that are fighting or they live out of state. And it's just sometimes those delicate situations. I have a particular family that their father committed suicide, and it's just really like, there's a delicate way of you want to be a part of it, but there is sometimes you can get a little bit too into the emotional piece. Right. And I think that's the key is you need to have that empathy and understanding, and constant communication, but also just realizing you can't get emotional with them. Mm-hmm. You always have to be that person that can be even. Right. And I think that's important. I consider myself a very empathetic person, and having a lot of varied life experiences. I think, being a certain age does help with those things because you've lived life and you understand. Correct. And you can have empathy. Mm-hmm. But really like getting siblings, because I too have experiencing this with my own brothers, and it's really like helping me to see different. Good. But bringing them along, these, what's the goal here? For sure. The goal is to get the job done and come to an agreement. Correct. And so I think that's what a key part that I felt like I can do well at is just bringing kind of like de-escalating emotional situations and bringing people together. Right.
So. And I can understand that you don't want to seem like you're, completely numb to their situation, like you don't know what's going on. It's obviously, it could be a huge situation, a divorce, a death, and things of that nature. Right. But you also want to remain professional. You also don't want to, like you said, get too emotionally invested where it kind of skews your decision making and things like that. So,
exactly.
Yeah.
And that's the thing too. And you don't ever want to say, where you're choosing a side over another side, oh, you're right. Oh, that's, because that will also, anything that creates like division like that, you really always want to be peacemaker, unifier, let's pull the team together.
Correct. The mediator, like yes, absolutely.
We're all in this together.
Absolutely.
We all have a common goal. So yeah.
And that's just one of the many situations that you can get put in as a realtor. But I'm assuming you've experienced everything from a perfectly great, smooth transition or transaction all the way to all types of ups and downs. But let's speak on maybe the weirdest thing that you've seen in a property. Not weirdest thing, let's say the weirdest thing that has happened, not seen happen out of every place that you've been. Do you have any stories you could share with us?
Well, I don't know if this is the weirdest, but this just happened last week.
Oh, wow.
So I was, we were just opened up, showing this home to a buyer, and opened up the door, and there's just a billowing smoke coming out. I thought, oh no.
Oh, wow.
What is going on? So we went into the kitchen, and the homeowner left the burner on, left their food on. I think sometimes people fly out of their, they've got a showing, so they're trying to quickly, and he just left everything just burning. So we turned off. Luckily, it was not, flames or anything like that. It was literally. Okay, good. So we opened up the windows, and then the little boy that was there, he's like, "Oh, Mom, we got to check on the man laying on the couch." And we're like, what man laying on the couch? And it's just, so sure enough, there was a guy, but luckily we saw his toes moving, and
so he's alive. He's not just
alive,
sitting there unconscious.
And he stumbled up, and I think he had too long. Well, so he got up, and he was all disoriented, and he said, he's like, "Oh, I was at the Oakland. I'm an attorney. I was at the Oakland County Jail all night." What? And I found out later, the woman that the woman buyer, she quickly grabbed her son. It went out the back door. I think she said she only heard he spent the night at Oakland County Jail. So she was trying to bolt as quickly as possible.
All I heard was jail. And I'm out of
she
here.
heard jail.
I'm seeing
jail.
smoke everywhere. It just seems so sketchy.
Yeah, I think she was kind of like, this is weird. Too many weird things happening. So anyway,
wow. That's a good thing the house wasn't on fire. That would have just, it seems like the deal already didn't happen, but.
I know. It's like one of those things where,
oh my
thank goodness, and nothing more serious. And the guy was alive.
Okay, yeah, I know, right?
That also could have been bad.
Went so many different ways, right? Oh my goodness, that's a story. That's a story. I bet. Like I've heard so many different things, or people will walk in and they'll see a urinal in the living room or something like that. Oh my
gosh, I think I've heard that same story, Kevin.
There must be multiple people out here doing this now.
There's these
they might be ahead of their time. I don't know.
Yeah, that is so funny.
That's hilarious.
I heard that.
So being a skillful listener like you are, it's a very valuable trait in any profession for that matter. Mm-hmm. But especially in real estate, we're understanding your clients' unique needs, I should say. Very, very, very important. Let's just say that. So can you recall a time where your attentive listening skills allowed you to uncover any hidden requirements that your clients may be seeking in a property?
Oh boy, I feel like that is just, I think sometimes the clients don't even realize what they want.
Good point.
So I think sometimes, you'll start off in the transaction, and this is what they say their budget is. This is what they say they want. These are their top priorities. And they say it with such certainty. You're like, okay, this is what they want. And then as you start going through the process, and I think it's an uncovering for them too, especially new homeowners, because they, you start realizing, okay, this is my ideal. This is what I want. But in this market, I think sometimes it's like, okay, we need a place with some 4 walls.
Right. At least.
And we need to get it, because I feel my heart goes out to some of these buyers, because it really is very discouraging.
Yeah, I bet.
Because you go in and you're all excited and you're ready to go and you're thinking you're going to find your dream home, and everything keeps getting snatched up quickly. So my heart really does bleed, because but I think they start to, it's a process.
I
They
bet.
start to evolve, and they start saying, you know what? We don't need everything to be perfect, but this is potential.
Right.
And I think that's the key too. And this is, a neighborhood. It's the things that you can't change. Do you like a place with a lot of land? Do you like being close to a downtown, or some of these kind of things, or even understanding that you have kids and it's nice to have a neighborhood with lots of children in the neighborhood.
Good point.
And so some of these things aren't things people might not consider right away.
Correct.
But I think it's a process, you go through, and it's that whole relationship piece. When you get people to feel relaxed, then they just start talking, and
correct.
then you do start to uncover things. And like I said, they do too. So
That's a great point too. I'm glad you said that, because especially for a first-time home buyer, they've never been through this process before. They've never actually looked for a home in the correct way. Maybe drive past the home, maybe look on Zillow. But to do the real work that goes behind it, and you're actually in that process, like you said, they start to realize, oh, maybe we should start looking for this, or maybe we can't afford this, or maybe this is a little bit hard. And it'll even, they may think maybe we can find a home in, I don't know, a couple days, couple weeks. It's not going to take that long.
That's right. No one realizes how long.
Months or whatever the case.
They don't realize, and that's the key too. Is because they say, well, I'm renting, and my lease doesn't expire for another 4 months. Why would I look for a home now? But it is starting that process, because you do start to uncover like neighborhoods and things that you never saw before. And then also one other thing, just because I have a background working in the schools, is that so oftentimes, people will look on the internet and say, oh, great schools rates it this, or niche rates the school this. And so they base it on these ratings, and those ratings can be very misleading, and they're oftentimes so all over the board. I mean, I worked in Bloomfield, and I remember niche rated it number 1, and then now I think we're in like 50 something, and nothing's changed.
Whoa.
So you have to realize that those things aren't, it's really about, a lot of schools will allow you to go and tour the school. I think that I always encourage families to just go check it out, call the principal. They oftentimes will give you a tour, and you know what? It's really about what elementary, if you're elementary or school, you get a vibe. You go in there, and they get a good feeling like, this is home to me.
This feels right. This looks right.
Oh, you don't realize how many times where you're like, this feels like
correct.
Like you nailed it.
Correct.
Feels right.
Yeah, it's a different sense that you actually have to tap into, because some things could look right, but then you can get a feeling like, I just don't know about this though, I just don't, or there's something that I saw and is kind of a red flag, but everything else is perfect. But you got to go off that feeling too, as well as what you see and what you hear and research.
Employ all those senses.
Correct. Good work. That's something I never thought about though. Go to the school and take a tour, or call the principal.
Oh yeah, even if they don't allow for tours, but the secretary or the principals, when even if you have a conversation, you can tell if there's a welcoming feeling, or if they're open to questions, because if that's the type of leadership, where they're like welcoming,
correct,
then their chances are it's a school where you got strong leadership. You got happy teachers. It all starts from the top.
Correct.
They create the vibe, and it really makes a difference. Yeah.
That's a great point. I want to talk about maybe your vision, your expertise when it comes to homes, like having the knowledge and experience that you have, especially doing repair work on homes. I know that gives you an advantage. Not all realtors or real estate agents will put in that actual work for a home. So you have that experience. Can you share an example of a situation where you put that experience and that knowledge to actual work and actually, you know, gave your client an advantage in either buying or selling the home?
Sure. Okay. So I don't necessarily want this to be public knowledge, Kevin, because in some ways, yeah, because it was my first home I sold, but it was, sometimes you just do those things because you're like, I gotta get this house sold.
Right. Okay.
And so it was a gentleman, just such a good person, kind-hearted person, and he was just overwhelmed, divorced, and 4 kids, and the whole process was very overwhelming to him. So, but there was just things like staging the house, like, he had some ugly light fixtures, so just swap those out. And so sometimes these little things, these details, staging the house, you know, a single dad, he doesn't know
not
how
thinking about
he
it.
does not, you know, you live in a home, even my house, I feel like I need some fresh set of eyes for someone to look at, like, okay, this is cluttery, or this can be removed, or so forth. And then just, you know, I end up, you know, repairing some grout, and he had some rotten windows and, you know, windowsills. So just kind of doing those little things that didn't require a lot. But really, I think what ultimately sold that house was so many times people will look at a kitchen and the kitchen and bathrooms, but kitchen has that, it's the heart of the home. And it was built in the 1990s, had that honey oak. And it was like, I'm
already hearing outdated. Just everywhere.
Exactly. And it was just so many people are like, those cabinets, I just don't, it's dated. So we end up just, I've spray painted cabinets before, and we just took the doors off. I set up like a paint booth in their basement, and I spray painted them, slapped them on. And some of the people that were talking about it being outdated came back, looked at it, loved it.
Wow.
And it bought.
Really?
It sold. So it was really, it's like things that don't require a lot of money, but that you can say, okay, this can be done and it won't cost very much. You know, I mean, paint is cheap, just little touches that make it feel like it's a well cared for home makes a huge difference.
Yeah, and the cabinets, like just updating that or painting them. I wouldn't even say update, but painting them made that much of a difference.
Yes,
you say even people who looked at it before came back to look at it.
Well,
now,
we
that's
called
crazy.
them. We called them and hunted them down.
Those cabinets look new.
We kind of hunted them down.
Okay.
But and then I actually did the countertops too, which was kind of, you know, I ended up painting those too, which is kind of, there's a material you use. But anyway, save for another time.
Right.
I won't get in those details.
But you get your hands dirty ultimately. She gets there and she gets the job done. Okay, well said. Well done. I got to applaud you for that. A story where maybe you had some type of particularly rewarding relationship that you've built with the client, maybe after closing or something like that. Maybe you all are going to each other's birthdays or something like that, or going to, you know, someone's business or whatever the case may be. Any rewarding relationship you can share with us?
Oh, absolutely. I feel like there's so many, because it's such a I mean, it can be a roller coaster ride. So, I mean, emotionally, and you really kind of go through a lot with some people. And so you do connect, and so I feel like when they sell that house or buy that house, I mean, it is a celebration.
Correct.
It really is.
Correct.
And so I think it's easy to follow up and just connect with them and say, you know, hey, how's it going? How's this? Or is that neighbor giving me a hard time? Or, you know, or how do you like that guy? Or, you know, just kind of finding out what's going on, you know, because sometimes you just curious, you know, you just want to know how they're getting settled in. And I feel like that happens quite a bit, actually.
You know what you just said that kind of just made me think about something. I don't think it's been discussed that much, but when you are moving into a new neighborhood, a lot of people look at the schools, a lot of people look at the home and things. They look at the neighborhood.
Right.
But how often do you know the neighbors who live there?
Right.
That could also make, I mean, maybe
Oh.
they keep their house nice, clean, keep the yard good, but maybe the person inside isn't as friendly, and you'll have to deal with that on a daily basis.
Right.
So
Yeah.
that's something. It's not necessarily a question; it's just something I thought of, because that's a whole nother aspect of purchasing a home that you have to actually kind of vet, and it's hard to vet your neighbors necessarily.
Oh
right?
yeah, absolutely. I think it's a great idea to just kind of go into a neighborhood and just see what like a weekend day looks like. Do you see? Because I moved from Royal Oak to my personal experience, Royal Oak to Bloomfield, and it was such a difference in the sense that, you know, Royal Oak, the homes are so much closer. There's sidewalks. And everybody did their own lawns, you know, so everyone was outside. And I had kids. I had 4 kids. So it was important to me. Like,
of course.
Is this a neighborhood with kids? Are people out and about? And we had already put an offer in, and so we did it after. It actually worked out great.
Okay, good.
We turned out, good. But when we were nervous because I'm like, it was a beautiful spring day and there was no one outside of their home. I was like, what? In Royal Oak, it was just, there's always, you know, people, you know, it's like those March or April days when there's warm weather and people are out and
outside,
about.
getting
and
the house together, playing.
You're out. And I was like, oh my gosh, step into the twilight zone. Like, what is this? But actually it worked out great. It's just like homeowners associations. I think it's so important, you know, even just to knock on the door, say, hey, we're looking to buying this house. You know, how do you like living here? And you get a feel, you know, you might get one neighbor that might be a little bit, but you can kind of like, you know, just get a vibe in there. There are a lot of kids in the neighborhood. And our association, we do a Halloween parade. There's a picnic. They have a holiday party.
Nice.
It's just nice to know your neighbors.
Nice.
And some people, that's not for everyone. Some people want to move in.
Be to themselves.
Yep. And that's fine. And that's where you got to find, you know, discover. So it's either way. It's just, it's those things I think are important too.
Great tips. I can take away from this, like going into, you know, my purchase of a home, thinking like, let me look into a homeowners association if that neighborhood is involved. That way I can get a look at the neighbors and talk to them and think. That's a great point. I'm glad you brought that up.
If you have kids, I think especially some people just like, you know, it's nice to just have kids be able to just get together and play impromptu and not have to plan all the activities.
Of course.
Like way back when, the good old days, when we used to just knock on our neighbor's door to play.
And everything was safe. You didn't have any worries, right?
No.
I want to keep things in that realm of being, let's say, a first-time home buyer. If we had to take you back, let's say, I'm just making assumptions, right? You don't own a home now in 2023, but you're aspiring to own a home.
Okay.
Right now in 2023, Corrie. Okay. Knowing what you know now, you can even take your real estate knowledge and the resources that are available. What approach would you take to owning your first home?
So you know, they talk about generational selling, and it's, you know, I'm a generation, I'm a X. Okay. So then the Y's, the millennials, it is, and you're a baby. So it is interesting because I know for me, we bought our house because it was about the location, really. And we bought it and everything was outdated. But we wanted to get into that neighborhood. So I think what it is I would recommend is just to keep open mind. You know, you see pictures oftentimes online. They can do amazing. Well, you're in this industry. You know, you guys know. You know how good you make things look.
Yes. Oh yeah.
Yeah. So it can be really deceiving.
Correct.
And likewise, you can have some pictures that are not very good. And so sometimes just kind of saying, okay, let's just go look at this property.
Correct.
And going through it and really figuring out, okay, what are the costs here? What can we get this house? Like the bones, the possibilities, and just seeing that, okay, you don't like this house because it feels like it's too segmented. You wanted something more open. Right. Well, there's sometimes just opening up those walls and painting and everything else. It can make a huge, and decluttering. I think I see so many, and I, as a realtor, sometimes even have a hard time getting past. I mean, this one particular house, this guy was a hunter, and he had so much of, like, he had all his dead animals all over
on the wall and everything.
You know, and it's like, if you're not into that, it's hard. It's hard to get past it. And there's just like a lot of, or these women that are quilters that, you know, the little knickknacks everywhere. And you're just looking through it. And there's just so much stuff. You can't even see the house.
Exactly.
But I think it's just getting, like we talked about earlier, just getting people to, getting in the house and trying to walk with your realtor and help to envision. That's what I would recommend, because it is so it is very difficult for buyers right now, and but there are a lot of homes, and especially if they've been sitting on the market for a little while, sometimes those are the ones you can get, you know.
Negotiate a price, and
and it may not take much. So anyway.
Well said. Well, thank you so much, Corrie, for actually pulling up a chair and coming in studio to the closing table.
Oh, my pleasure.
Yes.
Thank you for having me. I really enjoyed it.
If you have any last words and or want to tell the people how they can reach out to you, please do so now.
So I phone, email. I am, even if it's someone that just has questions about what their current home value is. Anything, just pick up the call. I'm not a very aggressive person, so I'm not expecting, just having a conversation is really is a great start. So just feel free to call me. My number is 248-703-5990. Thank you.
Well said. Corrie Fogle, ladies and gentlemen, thank you again for watching. And for our YouTube audience, if you've gotten to this point in the video, now is your opportunity to do us both a favor. Hit the like button, please, and thank you. Make sure you also share the content and subscribe to our channel. And if you are listening on Apple, Spotify, or any other podcast platforms, please do the same. Give us a like, a 5-star rating, and subscribe for our latest content. Corrie, I like to leave our audience with a question before they leave the chat room. So this is for you, audience. Does it matter if your realtor is from the area you are purchasing a property? Why or why not? Don't tell us now. Leave it in the comments below. Besides that, we'll talk to you next time.